Well, in the corner of Phillips Arena, the National Championship Trophy. We're not allowed to touch it, and neither are the players, at least until after the game Monday night. Now, on the adjacent field, I would say about 50 or so yards away, we've got North Augusta softball. They're playing Wren in the Upper State semifinals. The story has been the win, just like last year. And for those of us who live in the area, we know that this is very atypical for Augusta. Big doubleheader between USC Aiken and Augusta University basketball tonight. Also a whiteout, so let's take a moment to appreciate this. Augusta University coach Dip Mitras bringing the full white suit. I'm just a few blocks north of the stadium. Check out all of the big rigs. We've got Harry's Doghouse, and we also have a lot of Bulldog fans out here. It's only a few degrees above freezing. Ticket prices are pretty high. $2,300 is the average on StubHub. The cheapest ticket right now, I just looked a little bit ago, $1,600. There's a little more excitement than usual. It's a sellout tonight in large part because of that man, Tim Tebow. These two were looking more like teammates than competitors today. How about Hideki Matsuyama and Martin Keimer? I'd say that'd be like you and I showing up in the same shirt, suit, and tie, which I'm glad didn't happen. Bunbury, Armani Bunbury, that is, shaking guys just filthy into the end zone. And again, with the names, Armani Bunbury, I think, might get my vote for the best name in the history.
He's a baller,
I think we have to do a contest for that, because every year I'm like, man, the names keep getting better and better. You can purchase a piece of history, a pair of seats from the Georgia Dome, for just $599. Here's my thing. I'm from Minnesota. We had a Metrodome, too. They knocked it down a few years ago. Yeah. I bought one of the seats for $70. 70 bucks.
Wow. What'd you do with it?
It's in my room back home.
I still don't think there's ever been that many people at Richmond Academy Stadium before or since then.
It was exhilarating. When the coach told us we were going to be playing Aquinas, and he said it was a white team, I said, white team? He said, yes, said, you guys have a chance to make history.
September 22nd, 1967. Lucy C. Laney High School and Aquinas High School played at Richmond Academy in the first integrated football game ever in the state of Georgia.
There was a lot of racial tension. Segregation was hot and heavy during 1967.
Coach Dupree and my father were good friends before we had integration, and they planned the game 2 or 3 years in advance. It was a pretty big deal. We had police escorts down to Richmond Academy Stadium, and it was just a hard-fought game. The only problem, they were bigger, faster, and they're better football players than us.
The previous year, Laney had led the nation in high schools in total offense, and they had a lot of their players back. They were just a tremendous team that given the time and the situation, didn't get the credit that they truly deserved for such an outstanding football team.
And on that historical night, Laney would get the best of Aquinas, winning 30-0.
When that clock got to that last second, man, we were relieved. We've made history in Augusta, Georgia.
You know, given it was the first all-black, all-white game, that there was a concern that there might be issues, and there absolutely were none.
Even though there were racial tensions going on, when you got out there on that football field, you really didn't see white or black. All you saw was the color of that uniform. That's it.
During football games, our eyes are trained to follow the ball, but the man who starts with the pigskin is often forgotten.
No one grows up, 4 or 5-year-olds, you see them throwing the ball in the yard, but you rarely see a guy say, oh, I'm going to be a long snapper when I grow up. Like, that's what I'm going to do.
But that's exactly what Will Feud does.
No one really knows who you are as a long snapper until you mess up. So, it's kind of one of those things where I don't mind not getting, attention and all that stuff.
It may not be the rock star lifestyle of a quarterback, but Few certainly earned his way as much as anyone onto the SEC football stage. After graduating from Aquinas High School in 2012, Few joined the Ole Miss program as a preferred walk-on.
I had to work hard, from day one, and growing up at Aquinas, we kind of understand that too, being the underdog, for all 4 years I was here, and now it's different, but back when I was here, you know, you had to work for everything.
Including his long snapping skills, which he didn't work on until his sophomore year at Aquinas when his older brother Sam volunteered Will's name.
That's a funny story. I wasn't even thinking about long snapping until one day we were at practice and Coach Leonard said, so who can long snap here? And my brother said, oh, my brother can do it. And I was like, I've never done it in my life. You know, we'll see how this goes.
It went pretty well. Now a redshirt junior, Few is the Ole Miss starting long snapper, and while much of the fan base may not know his name, it certainly did during the Texas A&M game this season.
And also Speedy Noel, and here's the kick, and it's going to be taken and fumbled. It's on the ground and still loose. Pile up at the 23-yard line. Rebels say they've got it, and they do with $1:39 to go. Will Few, the snapper, we believe is the guy that finally corralled him.
You know, if you want to go to college and you want to work hard, then you can be along. Like, it just takes dedication. Like, that's all you need.
You may not have dreamed of long snapping as a kid, but maybe you should have. Nathan Palm, WJBF Sports.
I can't help it, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you, Lord. Oh my God.
That is Jeremy Youngblood, a hardcore Georgia Bulldog football fan from the Augusta area, now living in South Florida. And here for the national championship game, Jeremy now joins me. Where did your passion for Georgia football come from?
I've been a Georgia fan all my life. You know, I love the Dogs. I love that school. So it's just from living in Augusta, just, you know, being a huge Dog fan. So
I think more importantly, everyone wants to know, how did the videos start?
Well, my wife for like the last couple of years has been recording me, just secretly recording me, and I guess she thinks that that's not normal, you know. So, and I try to tell her, no, that is. There's other people, but you know, just kind of after she started recording, started putting it on Facebook.
And now that the videos have kind of gone viral, what's your family's reaction been to it?
You know, I mean, it's getting shared and people are commenting, and you know, it's just getting a good laugh. So, you know, it's funny.
And you ran into somebody actually on your flight up here from South Florida.
Yep, that's right. When I landed in Atlanta, I was actually getting off the train, getting ready to exit the airport, and I saw Herschel Walker. And so, of course, like any other Georgia fan, I ran up and, you know, tried to get a picture and spoke to him for a little bit. So,
well, that's a great start to the trip. I'm sure you want a great end to the trip. How do you feel just hours before the national championship game?
I mean, I'm nervous. It's Alabama, but I mean, I feel like this is our year. It's our season. You know, we've had a great season. Got, you know, some good seniors, great coaching. So I think this is it.
And what's the reaction going to be like?
Well, I'm going to be in there, so I'm going to try to control myself, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think I'm going to probably like those videos.
Well, I think a lot of us could definitely relate to the fan in you. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining us.
Now, sports coverage you can count on.
Justin Deloach continues to climb the ranks of the boxing world as just a 23-year-old. In his 4 years of professional boxing, the Augusta native owns a 16-1 record with 8 knockouts. But his next challenge will be his most important yet. Deloach faces 14-1 Christopher Pearson for the U.S. Boxing Association Super Welterweight title belt. He'll fight in Southern California next Friday for the crown as Deloach tries to take the next step in his boxing career.
This is my first professional fight for a title. You know, when people say, oh, you fighting for a title, you know, they end up, their energy level up through the roof. But, you know, this is what I do, man. I'm excited about it, of course. But, you know, the fun ain't till I'm fighting. That's when I get to have fun, you know, get in there and do what I do best, man. So I'm excited, man. It is a big deal for the city. It's a big deal for me. So Augusta, I will be bringing that gold back.
I love the confidence of Deloach. Always fun to catch up with him. He's got a lot of energy. The fight is set for Friday, February 24th. At 10 p.m. Eastern and will air on Showtime. We'll have a more in-depth preview of Deloach's upcoming fight next week. High school basketball playoffs began in South Carolina last night. Strom-Thurmond girls won their opening game. Tonight, 10 local teams are in action. We'll be at Midland Valley for the Lady Mustangs game against Travelers Rest and at North Augusta for the girls game against Union County. We'll be at the playoff games throughout the course of the week in Georgia. Playoff games begin on Friday and Saturday. Well, 3.5 months ago, the Cubs won their first World Series since 1908. But it's a clean slate again as Braves pitchers and catchers reported to spring training today in Orlando, Florida. The rest of the team, including newly acquired second baseman Brandon Phillips of the Reds, will report on Friday. Opening day is April 3rd at the New York Mets. And the Falcons will be moving into their new stadium in the fall, but you can purchase a piece of history, a pair of seats from the Georgia Dome, for just $599 through Schneider Industries. Don't worry, that $599 includes 2 seats, stand-up brackets, and a certificate of authenticity. If you're actually interested, you can go to georgiadomesale.com. Now, here's my thing. I'm from Minnesota. We had a Metrodome too. They knocked it down a few years ago.
Yeah.
I bought one of the seats for $70. 70 bucks.
Wow. What'd you do with it?
It's in my room back home.
Yeah, that seems pretty steep.
Yeah, and so that much more for an additional seat and the brackets, and the funny part is the certificate of authenticity.
Right.
You get that for an autograph.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to think that you tried to make a fake Georgia Dome seat. So.
There'll be some takers, though, for it.
Interesting.
John Hart might be a taker.
John might get one.
I got a feeling those prices might come down a little bit. I don't think they're going to be able to sell them.